We are back on the record. This is the start of meeting unit 2, the deposition of Marcus Lemonis. The time is 1:51 p.m.
All right, sir. So the next document I'm going to show you is marked as Exhibit 8.
Okay.
There's copies for
Sir?
counsel. All right, so what we're looking at with Exhibit number 8, sir, it looks like it's an email from Mr. Frank Crum to Jeff Crum and Robert Sanders, talking about sending units down to Wellington. Units, is that a term that's used for campers?
Objective form of the question. What was the question again?
When Mr. Crum uses the term units in the body of his email, which says, can we send 5 units down to Wellington, is units also a term in your industry for campers?
RVs.
RVs?
Yes.
And so would this be an indication of RVs going down to the Winter Equestrian Festival?
I'm not
Objective
part
form
of
of the question.
I'm not part of this email, so I don't know.
We were talking earlier, and you didn't have any locations down in Wellington, correct? No, there is no Camping World stores in Wellington, correct?
Is that a question?
Yes.
No.
Now, in his email, Mr. Crum talks about an Alpine or a Grand Junction. Do you know what that refers to?
Form.
Yes.
What does that refer to?
Models.
And were those models produced by Fleetwood?
I don't think so.
Do you know who produced the Alpine or Grand Junction models?
My best guess is Dutchman.
It also talks about New Tuscany or Montecito. Are those also model names?
Yes.
And do you know who produced the Tuscany or Montecitos?
Yes.
Who did?
Thor.
And then it also references Astoria. Is Astoria also a model name?
Yes.
Who produced the Astorias?
Thor.
In this email, it's referring to a North Trail. Do you know what North Trail is?
I
Form.
do.
What is North Trail?
It's an RV dealer.
Where is North Trail located? Or where were they located?
They have 2 locations,
And where was that?
Fort Myers and Fort Lauderdale.
Did your company ever have any involvement with North Trail?
Form.
Form of the question.
I don't understand the question.
At any point, did Camping World or any of your companies enter into any contracts with North Trail?
No.
At any point, did your companies ever attempt to acquire North Trail?
No.
Now, it also mentions here, I guess we need to, in number 8 of the notes, we need to apply for an off-site permit with GIGI. Do you know what that refers to?
Form.
I have
Same
no idea.
objection.
I have no idea.
Now, in Mr. Crum's email, he talks about word is they sold 50 here last year. Is that referring to sales of RVs?
Form.
Form.
I don't know.
Do you know if Mr. Crum, do you have any idea as to what Mr. Crum could be referring to other than RVs in terms of sales of 50 of something?
Form.
It's called speculation.
I don't know.
All right, the next email, sir, I'll show you is exhibit number 9. Here's copies for Mr. Rosenbaum, Mr. Clausen. All right, looks like there's another email from well, the email at the bottom of the page is your email to Mr. Bellissimo, Mr. Serpilla, why are we having to deal with this? We saw that email before, dated February 11, 2010. And then it looks like there's a response to that email by Meg to Meg from Mr. Serpilla, who says, I got a call from Ela and Frank Crum concerning Gigi. Looks like we are having problems again and charges she broke into our units. Do you have any knowledge as to whether this Gigi ever broke into any of your units?
This Gigi?
The Gigi referred
The
to
one
in the
that's
email.
sitting right here.
Yes.
Okay. No, I don't. I have no idea.
So to the best of your knowledge, Miss Stetler or Gigi, who's referred to in this email, never broke into any
Form.
Camping World units?
I have no
Objection.
idea whether
Question.
she did or didn't.
Do you have any knowledge that Miss Stetler was ever did Miss Stetler ever do anything to hurt Camping World's business? To the
Not-
best of your knowledge,
Not that I know of.
are you aware of any problems that Miss Stetler did or caused Camping World?
Form.
Other than speculation, no.
And do you have any knowledge as to Miss Stetler doing anything to harm the Camping World name?
Form.
I have no idea.
Well, so there's nothing that you know of that supports what Mr. Serpilla is saying, that she's hurting our business name and creating problems.
Form of the question.
Form of the question.
I don't
Objection.
agree with that.
You don't agree with what?
What was the question you asked me?
Do you have anything to support Mr. Serpilla's assertion in his email that she is hurting our business name and creating problems for many of your Wellington
Objective form of the
patrons?
question.
Form of the question.
You'd have to ask him. I didn't write this email.
Do you agree with Mr. Serpilla's
It doesn't
statement?
matter if I agree with him.
But do you?
It doesn't
Objective.
matter if I agree with him.
Objective form of the question.
Form of the question. Yeah.
Do you have knowledge of any facts to support Mr. Serpilla's assertions in this email?
Objective form of the question asked and answered.
I've answered this.
Well, I'm asking about any of the assertions in this email.
Same objective.
What's your question?
Do you have knowledge of any facts that support any of the assertions made by Mr. Serpilla?
These are
in
his
this
assertions. I can't speak to them. You have to ask him.
Okay. But I'm asking about your knowledge base in terms of, do you personally have knowledge of any of the facts that Mr. Serpilla is asserting?
Form.
My knowledge doesn't say that, confirm or deny whether any of this happened.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of any actions that were taken by the Winter Equestrian Festival in relation to the assertions made in Mr. Serpilla's email?
I don't understand your question.
Well, after Mr. Serpilla sends this email, do you have any knowledge of how the Winter Equestrian Festival addressed these concerns raised by Mr. Serpilla?
No, because I'm not on any of the email chains to know from that point forward.
I understand you weren't on the email chains, but
Yep.
I also understand sometimes people call each other, et cetera, or there may be a meeting.
Right.
Do
I
you ever,
don't like meetings.
did you ever attend a meeting where you discussed Ms. Stetler that you can recall?
Not that I can recall.
Did you ever have any telephone communication or conversations with anyone about any of the concerns raised in Mr. Serpilla's email?
Form.
Oh, I probably talked about it with Isla at some point.
Would you agree with me that any issues that were raised by Mr. Serpilla were things that Camping World really didn't even want to be having to deal with, as evidenced in your email that starts this chain on this page?
Form of the question.
I don't know what the email is before that, so I can't speak to it.
All right, so going back then to exhibit number 7, it looks like that is a connection of the emails. So when you said in the email, why are we having to deal with this, you were referring to any complaints that dealt with Ms. Stetler?
Form.
Seems that way.
And was the reason is because, well, what was the reason for you making that assertion, or why are we having to deal with this?
Well, I'm obviously responding to the email below it.
Well, was it more of a, what was the context of you saying, why are we having to deal with this?
The email that's below it.
However, in terms of the email below it, was it a situation where you were responding as if you didn't want to have to deal with what was being raised in the email below?
Form.
Form of the question.
Wouldn't that be self-explanatory too? Why are we having to deal with this? It's pretty self-explanatory.
Well, people can use that phrase, why are we having to deal with this, in different using different meanings, such as a state of exasperation, such as, well, why do I have to deal with this? Or a state of inquisition, such as, well, why are we dealing with it? Why do we have to deal with this? So please help explain what your state was when you said, why are we having
I
to deal with
have
this?
no idea. It
Form of the
was like
question.
9 years, 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
All right, the next email I'll show you is marked as Exhibit 10. These copies for council. Now, sir, do you have any knowledge related to the weekly updates for the Winter Equestrian Festival? Was that something that Mr. Serpolo would provide to you?
I maybe have seen one or two over the years, but not on a regular basis.
Do you have any knowledge relating to the reference in the in this email related to contact to Isla for photo opportunity with the City Slicker Group?
Form.
I don't.
All right, the next document, sir, I'm going to show you has been marked as Exhibit number 11. It's titled Exhibit A, Sponsor Benefits. Copies for council. Have you ever seen this Exhibit A, Sponsor Benefits document before?
Not that I can remember.
It looks like at the top it says Camping World Attention John Serpilla, and at an Akron, Ohio address. Do you recognize that Akron, Ohio address?
I don't recognize the exact address now.
Are you familiar with Camping World having some offices in Akron, Ohio?
We have a location in Akron, Ohio.
Did Mr. Serpillo work out of the Akron location at one point?
Yes.
Now, this particular sponsor benefits talks about sponsor payment of sponsor $75,000 for a sponsorship fee. Do you agree that that sponsorship fee was that ever paid?
Form.
Was it ever paid?
Right.
I have no idea if that was the final amount. This looks like a presentation. I don't know if this is what this is.
Now, it also talks about trade of 10 rental units to be used by ESP during the season. Rental units, would that refer to campers?
Form.
I would assume so, yeah.
And to be delivered on or before November 15th, 2010, to be used by ESP. 8 of the units will reside in the campground, and the unit rental, space rental, and services, including power, sewer, LP gas, and water for these units will be provided to ESP at no charge. So does this mean that, at least according to this proposal, Camping World was to provide some of these rental units on a campground for use by the ESP?
Form.
Based on this document, yes.
Do you have any knowledge as to whether or not any rental units were provided by Camping World for the ESP?
I have no knowledge.
And then it also talks about being an official sponsor. Sponsor shall be promoted as the official RV sales and rental of the Winter Equestrian Festival and shall be able to promote their official sponsor status. By being the official RV sales and rental of the Winter Equestrian Festival, was that a key aspect of any type of sponsorship arrangement?
Form.
I don't know if that's a key aspect, no.
And then it also talks about sponsor benefits, such as having the rights to certain title sponsorship rights for some of these series. One refers to Camping World Adult Amateur Jumper Series. Do you know what the what this Camping World Adult Amateur Jumper Series refers to?
I don't.
And then it also talks about Camping World Adult Amateur Hunter Division. Do you know what the Hunter Division refers to?
I don't.
And then, in terms of these, was that a critical aspect of or a key aspect of the deal, the naming rights for these series?
Form.
Form.
I have no idea.
Well, you would agree with me that you would have had to have approved any sponsorship before it was finalized between Camping World and the Winter Equestrian Festival, or ESP, correct?
The overall idea? Yes.
So what exactly was the key aspect or key benefit of getting involved with sponsoring the Winter Equestrian Festival for Camping World?
I don't remember what my thoughts were at the time. Good advertising, I suppose.
Do you have any thoughts today in terms of it?
No, don't think about it.
Now, it also talks about sponsor may participate in the Parade of Champions. Do you have any knowledge as to whether or not Camping World ever participated in this Parade of Champions?
Form.
I don't.
You personally didn't participate in the Parade of Champions, correct?
No.
You ever been horseback riding before?
No.
In terms of, it also talked about international club tables, seats, etc. Those were more considered ancillary benefits, the hospitality aspect of it, correct?
Form.
I have no idea.
All right, the next document we'll go ahead and mark as a composite 43, 44, 45 as Exhibit 12. There's a copy for you, Mr. Clausen, and let me get a copy for Mr. Rosenbaum as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Composite.
Yes, a composite 12. All right, have you seen what's been marked as Composite Exhibit 12 before?
No. Not that I recall.
Do you recognize, in terms of Composite Exhibit number 12, what that could be referring to?
Form.
No, I don't actually.
Do you know who created page 1 of Composite Exhibit 12?
No.
Do you know who created page 2 of Composite 12?
No.
Do you know who created page 3 of Composite 12?
No.
All right, the next document we'll take a look at is Exhibit 13. Exhibit 13 will be another composite. It's 64, 65, 66.
Yes, sir.
All right, so taking a look at what's been marked as Composite Exhibit 13, do you recognize that document?
No.
Have you ever seen that document before?
Not that I recall. I need to take a bathroom break real quick.
Okay, sounds good.
We are going off the record. The time is 2:12 p.m. We are back on the record. The time is 2:19 p.m.
So is it normal and customary for your client to threaten people in hallways?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Oh, okay. Telling people that she's going to humiliate them?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
In terms of this particular document, Exhibit A, sponsor benefits, it looks like the document appears to be signed on the third page by someone. Who
Yep.
who is that?
I don't recognize the signature. I can't. I don't know the signature, but it's not mine.
Is that a signature? Do you have any knowledge as to whether this particular agreement that's marked as Exhibit number 13 is the exhibit that, or is a contract that was entered into by Camping World Leasing Company LLC and ESP, Equestrian Sport Productions?
I would assume so, but I still can't confirm whose signature that is.
Do you have any reason to, now I know at the top it says attention Marcus Lemonis. Would this document have come to your attention prior to it being executed by someone at your company?
In theory, yes, but that's not my signature.
Do you have any, now this particular document talks about certain benefits, etc. Do you happen to know whether or not these benefits were received by Camping World?
I wouldn't be able to confirm whether every one of these had been received.
Do you know if Camping World did end up paying the sponsorship fee that's identified within this document?
Firm.
I don't know if the amount paid by Camping World is consistent with what this document says.
Was Camping World, did Camping World pay some sort of sponsorship fee pursuant to this agreement dated September 2009?
Yes. Well, let me clarify that. Camping World paid a sponsorship fee. I don't know if it's connected to this agreement.
Well, in terms of any sponsorship fees, et cetera, is there a particular account that Camping World uses to pay sponsorship fees?
No.
moving on to exhibit number 14. Here's a copy, sir. Here's a copy for Mr. Clausen, a copy for Mr. Rosenbaum. Now, it looks like these are emails between Mr. Burton and Mr. Serpell of your company. Do you happen to have any knowledge related to any of the information that's contained in this email related to spaces and prices for some of the spaces?
Object to form of the question.
I'm not familiar with this.
Have you ever been involved in you personally been involved in adjusting campground rates for users on a particular campground?
Form.
I'm sorry?
This email deals with particular rates and would that be a decision that you would involve you, or would you be out of that
Form.
decision?
Seems odd for me to be involved.
Do you recall having any involvement personally with any of these individuals in terms of their lease arrangements for their campers?
Form.
Either Mr. Weatherhill, Ms. Sweetnam, Mr. McNerney, or Ms. Hodges, or Ms. Fennessy?
Object
No,
to form.
I'm not familiar with it.
Moving on to exhibit number 15. There you go, sir. Now, it looks like this is an email from Mr. Class. It looks like he's talking about Motorist Camping World Leasing. Are you familiar with an entity, Motorist/Camping World Leasing?
Motoris, yes.
What is Motorist?
It was the rental company that Camping World acquired.
And when you say rental company, what types of products were they involved with renting?
RVs.
Did Camping World acquire Motorist prior to 2009? Is that why it says Motorist/Camping World Leasing?
I don't recall the acquisition date.
Would Mr. Kloss then have been an employee of Camping World when he sent this email?
It appears so.
And did you ever have any conversations with Mr. Kloss personally?
No. Not that I recall.
Now, this is a location in Lauderhill, Florida. At this location in Lauderhill, Florida, were RVs also sold?
No.
Were RVs leased out of this location?
I believe it was one of our rental locations.
So, at a rental location, would there be RVs on site?
Yes, that's how they get rented.
Have you personally ever been to this Motorist Camping World Leasing location in Lauderhill, Florida?
Never.
Is Camping World still have this location for leasing in Lauderhill, Florida?
No.
What happened to the location in Lauderhill, Florida?
We're not in the rental business any longer.
Would the units on the campground, would that have been considered part of the rental business?
Form.
I have no idea.
The units on the Winter Equestrian Festival campground that we looked at earlier, would that have been part of the leasing rental division or branch of Camping World?
Same
to
question.
Object to form of the question.
Same question? No idea.
You happen to know this Mr. Ron Parkinson that's copied on the email from Mr. Kloss?
I don't.
Exhibit number 16. We'll mark, here's a copy of it. Right, this refers to a press release from November 2009, and then there's an email from Mr. Serpilla to Mr. Burton about stopping GIGI spreading the word that she would rent at 50% for any quote we provide in RV. Did you ever have any conversations with Mr. Serpilla related to Ms. Stetler's undercutting of any quotes?
I never had a conversation with him, no.
Do you recall Mr. Serpilla ever filling you in or discussing the contents of this email to you?
Object
No.
to form of the question.
The answer is no.
The next document we'll mark as Exhibit 17.
Do you have a copy?
I thought I had an extra copy here. I do. Here you go, Mr. Rosenbaum. Do you recognize what's been marked as Exhibit 17?
I don't recognize it, no.
Do you have any, does that look like it would be part of the, like a promotional press release or material used by Camping World?
Yes.
Does it contain identifiers on it to show that it would be from Camping World?
Yes.
Okay, what identifiers does it contain?
Well, we could just start with the name.
Is that logo also part of the Camping World logo?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, would that have been a document that would have been produced by someone that works at Camping World?
I have no idea.
Does it, to the best of your knowledge, is the information that's contained within that document accurate?
Form.
I have no idea.
Do you mind taking just a moment?
I read it.
And when you read it, is there anything in that document that you dispute?
Form of the question.
There's nothing to dispute or
Objection.
confirm.
So in terms of exhibit number 17, you don't have any personal knowledge one way or the other related to any of the allegations or any of the items that are mentioned in exhibit 17?
Form of the question.
Same objection.
I have no idea.
Now, Ms. Stetler is alleging that she was contacted by you in relation to a purchase of...
Are you done with this?
Yes, I am. Thank you. In connection with an offer to acquire RV Sales of Broward, do you dispute that allegation?
Object to form of the question.
I honestly don't remember the call.
Do you have any, would RV Sales of Broward be a dealership, et cetera, that you would be, that would fit your business model of companies you'd want to acquire?
Form of the question.
I think that's too
Same
speculative for me. I want a more specific question.
What's too speculative about that question?
I mean, I have different opinions at different times.
Back in 2008,
I don't remember how I was feeling.
may I finish the question
Sure.
first? Back in 2008, did you have any feeling one way or the other about the company RV Sales of Broward?
I had
the
no
question.
feeling.
Did you ever read any newspaper articles or articles in any trade magazines about RV Sales of
Form of the
Broward?
question asked and answered.
Same
I don't-
objection.
I don't recall.
Do you have any facts or evidence to dispute the allegation by Ms. Stetler that you contacted her about purchasing RV Sales of Broward?
Form of the question.
Same objection.
I don't understand the question.
Are there any facts or that you have or any evidence that you have to dispute Ms. Stetler's allegation or contention that you contacted her to purchase RV Sales
Form
of
of the
Broward?
question.
Same objection.
I can't clarify either way, whether she contacted me or I contacted her. I don't recall.
Well, in terms of, do you dispute at all her contention that you wanted to purchase her company?
Form of the question.
I don't recall.
Do you have any facts or any evidence or documents to refute her connotation?
Same
don't-
objection.
Same objection.
Yeah.
Asked and answered, really.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
Now, if Ms. Stetler has alleged that you've called her multiple times, do you have any reason or any facts to refute that allegation?
Form of the question.
I don't know what multiple times even means.
Excuse me. Okay.
Ms. Stetler has alleged that you've and her had multiple telephone conversations
Okay?
on different days, different times.
Okay?
Do
Person
you
object to that characterization.
Yeah, I
Please
do
continue.
too. There's been no such allegation, but go ahead.
do you dispute that do you dispute that you would have spoken to her multiple times,
Same objection.
Object to the form, object to...
or do you just not know one way or
assumption.
the other?
Excuse me, object to the form, object to the form of the question as to assuming facts, not to evidence as
Right.
well.
Foundation.
What's your question?
Okay. My question is, Ms. Stetler has alleged that you and her had multiple telephone conversations on different days.
I don't recall that.
Same objection
Same
as the
objection.
last question.
Same here, please.
Do you have any knowledge as to the financial condition of Ms. Stetler's business at any point in time, the RV Sales of Broward,
Form.
whether or not it was profitable or failing?
Form of the object. Form of the question.
as well.
No.
Ms. Stetler has also alleged that in a conversation with her that you indicated that you knew that she was having a problem with broken RVs from Fleetwood Motorhomes. Do you dispute that?
Form of the question.
Form of the question.
I don't recall.
Ms. Stetler has also alleged that you had indicated to her that you were closely connected with Fleetwood Motorhomes. Do you agree with that statement?
Same
Form of the
objection.
question.
Form
Or
of
do
the
you
question.
dispute it?
I
Form of
don't
the
know what
question.
closely connected means.
Well, at any point would you characterize your relationship between yourself or your company and Fleetwood Motorhomes as being a close relationship?
Object to form of the question.
They're
Form
a
of the
vendor
question.
of mine.
Were they a frequent vendor or an infrequent vendor?
I don't know what frequency means when you talk about business.
How frequently did you engage in business with Fleetwood Motorhomes as a vendor?
Consistent with the same as we would operate with any other vendor.
So would that mean that you would be making purchases from Fleetwood on a monthly basis?
I didn't make any purchases myself.
Would Camping World be making purchases on a monthly basis from Fleetwood?
I don't know the frequency of the buys.
Did you have knowledge of any damage of any RVs that were provided by Fleetwood to RV Sales of Broward?
Object to
No.
form of the question.
GE Commercial Distribution Finance, also known as GE Capital. Was that also a company that you had a close relationship with?
Object to form of the question.
I don't know what you mean by
Objection.
close relationship.
Did you have any relationship with GE Commercial Distribution Finance or GE Capital?
We established that earlier.
Which was yes, correct?
Yes.
In fact, how much were you, how much was Camping World indebted to GE Capital?
I don't recall.
At what point in time? So just object to the form.
Do you recall ever having any conversations with anyone at GE Capital about RV Sales of Broward?
Form of the question asked and answered. Mike, if you're going to ask him the same questions over and over, please focus your questions. That question was asked at the very beginning of this deposition. So
Well-
please, I ask that you think about your questions as it relates to what you're asking Mr. Lemonis.
And my objections are form of the question and asked and answered.
I understand your objection, but I believe the question was asked a little bit differently earlier. Mr. Lemonis, can you just answer that question?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure, Madam Court Reporter.
But I want to hear it from you, though. 'Cause it's more
Well, I
clear.
want to make sure. I want to make sure it's read in the way it was
Okay,
asked. So not
great.
to.
Yep.
Do you recall ever having any conversations with anyone at GE Capital about RV sales of Broward?
No.
Did you ever have any knowledge that a writ of replevin was issued against any of the inventory of RV Sales of Broward?
No idea.
All right, I think we might be wrapping up, but let me just take 2 or 3 minutes with my client. And,
Okay.
We are going off the record. The time is 2:41 p.m. We are back on the record. The time is 2:48 p.m.
all right, just a few more questions, sir.
Yeah.
Were you aware of any individual of Camping Worlds that was located on site of the Winter Equestrian Festival as a representative of the company?
No.
Did Isla Lemonis act as in any capacity for Camping World at the Winter Equestrian Festival?
I mean, I'm sure she did if nobody was around.
Has she ever worked for the company in the past?
No.
And have you ever heard of a company called Jones Awning Company before?
No.
All right, sir. Well, I appreciate your time coming in for the deposition
Thank
today. I don't have any additional questions for you, so thanks again for your time.
And no questions.
This is Jonathan Clausen on behalf of Camping World. Mr. Lemonis, I just have one quick question. Can you just describe the interaction you referenced earlier with Mrs. Stetler during one of the breaks during your deposition?
Yeah, I mean, she was outside the bathroom when I was coming out, and she said she would humiliate me.
Thank you.
I don't appreciate being prepped.
This is the end of meeting unit 2 and the end of the deposition of Marcus Lemonis. We are going off the record. The video will be retained by Lake Cook Recording. The time is 2:50 p.m.